Serious. Teachers, when did a student send you the wrong file? Story 1. When I was in high school, my English teacher was also kind of my mentor. She was the best teacher I've ever had, hands down. I am a forgetful person, and she was the first teacher who ever tried to help me with it. She noticed I didn't lie about it, that I didn't forget my homework at home. I was actually forgetting things, even trivial things. I once forgot all of my textbooks on my desk and left school. She came in, saw them, called me immediately, and told me she put them in her cabinet and will give them to me tomorrow. So we had an agreement that I could use my laptop during classes. She would send me the worksheets, I would download the reading materials, and this way I wouldn't forget anything. I carry my laptop almost everywhere. The agreement had a condition. I had to send her, once a week, a report of what I accomplished at class. It went great 2 times. Once I forwarded her an email from my chemistry teacher about how I was failing class. I forgot I was still reviewing the email and knew I had to send her the report, and it just happened. She excused me from classes so I could study for chem, and my grades did see a drastic change, because if I failed, it meant that I also failed her, and that wasn't an option. Another time, I sent her part of a novel I'm writing. It was an early draft, and I hadn't realized what I sent until the next morning. She told me that even though I sent her the wrong file, she will give an extension and gave me a printed copy of the chapters I sent her with handwritten comments. She fixed my grammar, suggested different words, and wrote a full essay about which characters she liked, how the plot was up to the point, and that she had no idea I had such a gift. Next class, she asked me if I wanted her to be a beta reader, and I agreed. Thanks to 2 mistakes and 1 godsend, I have finished chem with an A- and almost finished my novel. As someone who almost became an English teacher, I will once again say that English teachers are the best. That's so amazing that your teacher went that extra step, and I think that is what does make really good teachers, is not just having the subject and the knowledge that you need to teach, the end, but it's making connections with students, realizing that different students have different needs, and willing to take those little extra steps when you can tell that it's going to be meaningful for a student. So huge props to this teacher, and huge props to you, darn near finishing a novel, because Lord knows I haven't actually come close to finishing one of the many novels that I've started. Story 2. I have a relatively harmless but funny reverse example. When I was in high school, sometimes I would randomly type up my thoughts about various TV shows while I was watching them. I have absolutely no idea why I did that. I would just type up my stream of consciousness thoughts in the bottom of some document. Apparently one time I did this on the bottom of a draft article for my 9th grade journalism elective, which the teacher projected onto the whiteboard and read aloud to the entire class. I have no idea how I accidentally left it at the bottom of the draft, but it was very awkward. I'm pretty sure I'd written comments about an episode of America's Next Top Model in a random paragraph at the end of my draft. Luckily, the submissions themselves were anonymous, so no one knew it was mine, but it was awkward. The teacher was like, I guess someone's document got mixed up. I don't think that's part of the article. So, comments? She then left it up for like 10 minutes. I wanted to die. Sounds to me like you've got the heart of a critic in you. Someone who you just got to get it out there. You got to write down your stuff. I mean, are you sharing it with other people? I guess that's what I'm curious about. Like, are you sharing it? Is it affecting you in any kind of way? This is interesting to me because I definitely have plenty of opinions and thoughts about shows, but I never think to write them down. I just choose to forget them like I do most things. Story 3. I went from a solid A to a solid B in biology my freshman year of college when I swapped papers between classes. One professor was cool and let me resend it later that day. The other was not and knocked 10% off my grade. Not funny, not inappropriate, just 6 pages on blue herons overeating. My friend in college submitted an empty zip file for a final project that was worth some obscene portion of our final grade. They were able to provide the correct file the same day. Enough work, there's no way they could have done it all in that time, and so it was pretty clear the whole thing was an honest mistake. Professor refused to take it, failing them on the assignment, which led to them failing a only offered fall semester of senior year class and preventing them from graduating. Dean had to get involved. Sent an email along the lines of, "Our job is to teach, not be Machiavellian." Holy crap, I need someone to do some detective work and find out who this dean is and give them an award for actually understanding the role of a teacher, because especially some college professors, I'm sorry, but you're real bad about this crap. Like, "Oh, so you've turned in your perfectly worded assignment that you studied for years and years and years on. But I see that you used an italics in some of your font when I specifically said that you had to use semi-bold italics. Fail!" Good on this dean for laying it out to this teacher. Story 4. When I was in high school, I was working with the art teacher to create a book of art and writing by seniors that would get printed and passed out to them at graduation. Usually files would get sent to me and I would decide if they had enough effort to go into the book, and then I'd email the file to the teacher. Our emails were just first name, last name at school mail, so everyone knew everyone's email, and there was an older student that had been bullying me and being absolutely nasty to me, and that had included emails. When he sent his piece, I didn't pay attention and forwarded the entire chain of emails to the art teacher, including the bullying. He lost his place on the cross-country team, and instead of a page for him in the art book, there was a page about bullying and how to reach out for help. So that's what happened when I sent the wrong file. Story 5. A combination of a student and his mom. And they got me twice. I taught history, and one of my sophomore kids was essentially useless. His mom did everything for him, including his assignments. I didn't give homework except for papers and the final project, which was to make a PowerPoint about any year of your choosing. This kid chose the year he was born, which is literally the one year I told them not to do, because being the same age, I didn't want to make the class sit through 15 presentations of the same year. It was obvious his mom had done the PowerPoint because he was genuinely surprised when we got to August and it was a close-up photo of the mom's V giving birth to him. This was particularly on me because these students were supposed to email me a copy of the slideshow so I could review it, and I didn't. I emailed the mother about it, and my email included my cell phone. She called me completely oblivious that showing the literal moment of her son's birth was not appropriate for history class. You know, we've done a lot of videos about school and helicopter parents and stuff like that. Somehow this parent, this mother, feels like the amalgamation of just all of the worst parts of those different videos coming together, and I feel like she is the final boss, and I don't know how to properly react to this. And so I'm just gonna say what I said. We're gonna walk away, and we're gonna pretend that this never happened. Story 6. I'm a TA and sometimes accept submissions into my email. Someone emailed me a PDF of their homework, but instead of their homework, it was a fanfic about the class professor being a snail. I memorialized their fanfic by later drawing the professor as a snail and putting it on the school Reddit, putting it on this door, putting it on my Instagram, putting it on the board in our major lounge. I like that student. It was a good fanfic that included a section about him walking on salt. That is the strangest thing I've read all day. Story 7. I'd given students the simple idea to come up with a commercial project. Students had the option of performing in class or recording a short video. One student brings in a random flash drive with her project. I plug it into my laptop so we could watch as a class, and the thing was full of named adult entertainment files. She was in 7th grade and it was all uncomfortable. She told me to just click the folder with her name, and we all pretended like we didn't see anything else. Story 8. I worked in the IT department of a college, so I had the pleasure of disabling the student's account so we could have a little chat later that day after they sent an email to a friend. Turns out that the friend had a name very, very similar to a teacher. Lick my ball bag, you vegan F, was the subject, and a picture of a lady licking a ball bag was the only thing in the body of the email. That was an interesting conversation. Story 9. Not exactly what you asked, but my little cousin was in class when a substitute teacher accidentally pulled up gay adult entertainment he was watching on the smartboard for the entire class to see. I live in a small town, so that was the talk for a pretty long time. He got charged, and his mugshot was a meme that we all sent each other. He was always a really nice guy, too, and had been working for the school for 20-plus years as a sub. Still can't believe it really happened sometimes. Look, there's nothing wrong with being into some adult entertainment, whatever the preferences of that entertainment, as long as it's, healthy, no one's getting hurt and stuff, but A, you shouldn't be looking at it at your job, especially if your job is at a high school. No, you wait, you get home. That's home computer time. That's not in school computer time. I don't care how bored you are. Oh, you've got a free period? It's not that free. Story 10. Not super exciting, but I'm an English teacher and I use Turnitin.com. A student asked to see another student's essay so he could understand what he needed to do to finish the works cited page. Since both of them hadn't named their essays, the student turned in his friend's by accident, name and all. It was worth a laugh because the similarity report came back 100%, and since it was during class and he could immediately produce his own essay, I knew it was an honest mistake. Story 11. Had a student complain that their assignment wouldn't upload to Google Classroom. Turned out he was trying to turn in work that someone else had done and had just shared with him. He couldn't because he didn't own the document. Story 12. What happened was that I don't normally use the family computer, so this one time I wrote my essay like normal. Didn't look at the file it was being saved to, and while I was looking for the file, I accidentally stumbled upon my dad's adult entertainment tapes. I almost submitted one of them trying to click off as fast as possible. Story 13. Not sure if this counts. A student sent me a Word doc for an assignment. When I opened it, annotations were turned on. I was able to see notes she and another student discussing the assignment, edits, etc. A few days later, their friend sent me a surprisingly identical paper. I wrote and told them it was okay to collaborate, but they had to resubmit different papers. I mean, that's a good attitude from the teacher, so I gotta give them some props. And also, I feel so bad for the generation that's currently in high school, because back when I went to high school, in the late 90s and very early 2000s, teachers didn't know how computers worked. Like, they were just like, oh, don't look at it too much, it might get angry. Like, they were so clueless. So, as teenagers, if we knew any tricks about computers, the teachers would never in a million years figure it out. They were inept for good reason. They were still kind of new, at least those computers as they were being used. But nowadays, you got teachers who are like my age and younger who know how to use computers, and you can't pull those tricks on them. What do you do? Story 14. This was actually an essay my one friend, let's call him Bob Smith, submitted to his class where the teacher would then present their findings aloud. My buddy asked for help on it to proofread and make changes, which I am happy to do, but I always believed that whoever it was should read the changes I made to validate, disagree, etc. So I made the choice to change his name on the front page, upper left-hand corner, thinking if he read it over, he could immediately identify and switch it back. So his teacher began with the name before stating, okay, who's next? Bob, the PE is Smith. Needless to say, it got quite the reaction from the teacher and class. The remainder of the year, he was referred to as BTP. Story 15. When I was in high school, I had to present a slideshow with a group for my class. We had named it Boring Science Presentation as a joke while we worked on it. Turns out we forgot to rename it, and the teacher saw the name as we were opening up the presentation. He was not very happy at all. Honestly, if I was that teacher, I think I would have laughed about that, and then I would have, marked their grade down just a little bit, and my note would have been, presentation was kind of, what's the word? Boring. Story 16. Can I add in the time where I had 2 copies of a document, one to submit and one to print for my presentation that was set to help with my dyslexia? The former was 12-point Times New Roman, the latter was 18-point Comic Sans. So which one did I submit to my teacher? Thankfully, my lecturer knew I have dyslexia and understood why I had a copy in Comic Sans. Allow me to resubmit. I also now use a different font that is easier to read than Comic Sans and was allowed to submit my dissertation in a dyslexic-friendly font. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.